The business world has experienced several changes over the last century, but none more as game-changing as the advent of technological networking and the birth of the internet. Enter e-business, a new frontier of boundless opportunities for businesses of all shapes and sizes, with new exciting avenues for revenue streams. But a successful e-business will consider various drivers, directions, and structures, forming an organization that will enable that business to thrive in a competitive marketplace. Let's dive in to what makes an e-business successful. With business aspects, we are referring to the drivers, the directions, the structures, and the models in which that e-business operates within a given scenario. Now, with the business drivers, we're talking about the reach, the richness, and the efficiency of that e-business within that scenario. The reach describes the parties in which the business can reach out to. The richness is the type of activities that the e-business will have with those parties. The more dynamic, the more detailed, the more rich that scenario will be. And finally, the efficiency refers to how effective business is being conducted between the parties within that scenario. Then we talk about our business directions. Now, this refers to the various means in which an e-business can conduct a scenario, and for that reason, there are quite a lot of directions, just like there would be on a map with several roads, with left, right, forward, and reverse. So many choices. However, there are main directions commonly found in e-businesses, like the on-time and online direction, which refers to the accessibility of that e-business to its consumers or even providers. Then there's the multi-channel, which refers to communications used perhaps in the old school version of business, where fax machines, by phone, by snail mail even, mixed in with today's technological methods of communication, such as email or instant messaging. That brings us to structures and models. These aspects are able to change due to the use of information technology, including communications, to redefine the shape of business networks through processes like disintermediation or substitution. These changes in the networks have actually sparked business structures that form business models. These structures are akin to patterns in which an e-business scenario collaborates. Some examples include dynamic partnering, crowdsourcing, and the demand chain. Now, within the structures of the scenario being defined, the business model, that is, the way in which that business makes money, can allow for a better understanding Now, there are many different models, as you can imagine, but there are a main set of reference models. Now, not all of those models will be discussed here, but there are a couple key ones, such as the e-retailer business model, which is a model where the business makes all of its money via online retail sales. So basically, that is online storefronts. Another is the e-producer model. Now, an e-producer business will sell objects for other parties. So they're not actually making those products or objects, but instead they provide a platform in which other parties can sell those objects and products. A great example of an e-producer would be eBay. So moving on, let's talk about the organization of a networked e-business. So what exactly is operations management? Well, operations management is basically how the e-business organizes its various processes and functions. Now, if the processes and functions are organized in an effective and efficient way, the collaboration with all the parties within that scenario will be exceptionally great. Now, there are different types of structures that exist within operations management, one of which is the inter-organizational structure. That's basically how the parties work with each other. You have main parties like a consumer and the actual provider of the business. And then there could be intermediary parties that support the collaboration between those two main parties. Then you have an intra-organizational structure. Now, with that structure, you're more focused on the party's back end and front end. Now, the front end is what makes the collaboration work, whereas the back end deals with your standard core business functionality. Now, outside of operations management comes an even more critical piece of the pie, if you will, piece of the puzzle, excuse me, and that's change management. Now, just like in regular business, e-businesses aren't going to survive very long without changing the way they do business. In other words, changing their models, and within the models, obviously the structures and functions of those models. So in order for them to succeed and to sustain that success, they have to be agile because the market is always changing. Well, change management monitors these changes and allows the business to be ready for whatever changes may come along, and obviously to make those changes when needed. Of course, you have to identify the changes and then incorporate them into the structure of the scenarios. That way, the aspects, the functions, the operations, all of which exist in various scenarios, are changed. And that concludes this discussion on aspects and organization of the e-business. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you and have a wonderful day.